Hey, welcome, welcome, welcome. It is Kat of StrayKatStyle. I am, welcome to episode 8 of the Conversations with StrayKatStyle. I'm going to be hosting the lovely Sammy Davis of Vintage Boss Babes. I'm really excited to have us sit down with her and learn more about what kind of like makes her tick, all the wonderful things that she is doing with her business, along with just reminiscing. I've known her for a minute, and I'm really happy to have her joining me today. It's going to be just a minute. We're going to wait for her to pop on. It usually takes a minute for my guest to pop on. So once she sees that I'm live, I'm going to quickly bring up the live on my computer. Please stay here. Stay here. It's going to be really exciting. I tell you, Sammy is a mover and shaker. She kind of like makes things happen. She kind of breathes them into existence. And so it's going to be really awesome to sit down with her. Hey, Whitney. Hey, Sarah. Hey, Shatastable. Did I say it right? Hey, welcome. I am wearing a jacket from Janelle's boutique. Ah, thank you. I tell you, it went by too fast. too fast. Did y'all miss me? I wasn't gone that long. It's probably it's probably like very weird not to just see my notifications up there right away. I'm trying to hold on. My computer, I'm not typing something in right. So let's see. This is going to be really, oh my gosh, it's going to be so exciting. So if you came here for a live sale, I am not doing a live sale right now. I am doing an interview with Sammy Davis of Vintage Boss Babes. She is I tell you, she is, if you're a reseller, she is definitely like one to follow and learn different things from. So I know she's supposed to be here at 5 o'clock. Let me go ahead and tag her so she knows, excuse me, so that she knows that I'm on here. Y'all, look at this jacket. Oh my God. Look at this. I'm looking at this thing. I'm like, ooh, baby, this thing is awesome. It is awesome. Okay, let me tag her and see if we can get her in here. Babes. Oops. There we go. Daydream Boutique. Hey, welcome. I don't know if folks are coming in and out, and hopefully people will stay with me. I know they're probably thinking, hey, that she's not doing a live. Because I usually do my interviews. Earlier in the day, so but I am going to be doing evening interviews from this point on. So there's different people. You know, the scheduling just works better for other people. Let's see, we're losing people. What is going on? Let me make sure that she is not live, thinking I'm jumping on with her. Hey, she's here! Yay! I was just thinking, oh, you're jumping on in a minute. Okay, so I'll just go through the little rundown. It's let me just explain what Conversations with StrayKatStyle is. Now, I had been there's always so much that you can learn from other sellers that are beneficial for you if you're a small business owner. But I originally started this to highlight the women that were kind of doing the buy sell, the whole. You ready? Okay, let's go on and get her in here. Let's see. Excited. Sammy's going to be popping on here in just a moment. I had not shared it yet, so I'm going to share it. Once she's on here, I'm going to go ahead and share so that folks can.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm awesome. I'm multitasking a little bit. I have a live seller who got kind of confused. So if you guys see me look down like this, that's just because I'm taking care of her. Hi, Francesca. Francesca's here.
Hello, thank you for popping in. Thank you for coming. I love those earrings. I saw your post today, and I was like, I was digging it, about it's called Go with Flow.
Go with the flow.
Go with the flow, because sometimes when you fight against the current, it'll just bury you. The water bury you. So I'm gonna, while we're because I know you're doing that, let me go ahead and share so that the folks will know that we're live, because this is a little bit different for me. I usually am live at this time. I go live way too much, and I'm trying to like cut down on that. So I usually I do my interviews early in the day, so they're probably like, "What? Kat's on? She's back." So let me go ahead and invite people, and then we'll get started. Give me just a second, everyone that's joined thus far. I'm going to quickly share.
Yes.
Yay! I'm so excited. Oh my goodness. I'm just so ready to start. But I'm just like, oh my gosh. Okay, so let's see.
I'm on fire. No, we don't want that.
You're on fire.
There we go.
You're on fire.
No, I know.
Okay, so I'm almost done. Because I'm just trying to, I think people that would dig this, I want to make sure that I'm definitely inviting them. There's a couple of people that were really excited that you were coming on, so I want to make sure that they know that it's happening. I think this is a good time for my East Coast people, because then they can actually watch it versus watching a replay. So, and they can ask questions and all that stuff. So, let's see, almost done. Let's see. All right. All right. So, girl. Now, I think you're talking about Sammy, but let me explain quickly what Conversations with StrayKatStyle is. Tongue twister.
I love it.
Okay, so I really wanted to, because I was learning, because there's so much wisdom that other resellers have for us. And I thought this was a wonderful, wonderful platform. I started off on Spotify, and I was only doing, it was only audio, and I wanted to move it over to video because I was doing kind of like history lessons on fashion and who was relevant at the time, how it affects the fashion of today. And I was doing that initially. And then I was like, you know what, it'd be a great component to have women that are kind of like doing this resale, they're doing resale, buy, sell, and trade, running their hair care companies, all of these different avenues where women are just kind of tackling the small business market. And so I was like, I would think it would be beneficial for people that are just to kind of get to know the sellers, the small business owners, but also to kind of get the little nuggets of wisdom of things that trial and error people have learned that could really, really benefit them. So I thought, I'm going to start reaching out to people and start interviewing them and have a conversation about what they think is going on with fashion, how their fashion history. And I've learned so many great things about the people that I've interviewed, their histories, and it's so rich and so diverse. And everybody comes from all these different backgrounds, and they've come to it through family members, through hardships, or they just it was just their lane. They just naturally came into. Yeah. So I'm, let's open this up. So now this lovely lady, this is my number 8. She is my number 8 in the series, and I'm gonna let her introduce herself, and then because I came across this, I remember the first visual that I saw of Sammy. And Sammy was in a doorway with a cowgirl hat. She had a little bustier, with boning. She had a faux fur jacket. Do you remember this? Because I can remember. There was lots of pink, and you were in a doorway, and you had the hat on your side, and you were smiling. She had this bright smile, and I was just like, oh my God, who is this lady? And so I became a fan instantly. And so this was years ago.
Yeah,
I don't know if we're going to remember our history, because I could tell you when I was north of Quebec, we'll talk about it, because I north of Quebec, and I called you. Remember that?
In Canada. I do. I remember you. I think that because this is the dark ages, I think you emailed me.
I did, and we had a conversation when I was in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we spoke on the phone. Yeah, that's years ago. That's years ago. My son was I think my son, he's 17. I think he was 9 or 10. It's been years. But we've I think we've kind of touched base every so often. Like I've kind of like commented on things, you know, that you were doing. But so go ahead and just introduce yourself. Hello, everyone that's here thus far. Hopefully, if you guys think that somebody else would benefit from this, please, please, please tag them, share, all of that good stuff. Let's get lots of bodies in here because this is going to be a great conversation, and I think it's going to be beneficial for many people. So introduce yourself to everyone that's here thus far.
Awesome. I'm so happy to be number 8, which is the like infinity number. Because it keeps going. Hi guys, I'm Sammy. I'm over at Vintage Boss Babes. And I would love to have you guys join my world over there. I focus on vintage and luxe for less. I'm a reseller. I'm a community leader. So I own the Vintage and Luxe Boss Babes marketplace, which exists as a live community. So live selling, daily posting, and that's on Facebook, and also a brand new software called ISO, which is funded by the same investors that helped launch Whatnot. So that's really exciting. And I also do secondhand shopping tours here in New York City. So I've lived in New York City for a number of years, but I'm moving to Baltimore in November. So I'm going to be part of the DMV crew. What?
There's DMV girls on here.
I know.
That's awesome. I'm sure it's exciting.
Really,
but you do tours too. Don't forget to mention you do tours.
Yes,
you still
do shopping tours
do
here
that.
in New York, and we'll somehow kind of convert that to the Maryland, Virginia area. I'm thinking about getting a charter bus. You know, Uber lets you rent charter buses now. I'm like, okay, the game has changed, right? We're gonna have a thrift party bus. So yeah,
awesome.
I do all things secondhand. I'm very lucky. Love everyone who's been in my world. Really believe in helping people to sell more vintage, and just, you know, channeling whatever creativity through this business that they want to channel. And I think that everyone can make an income through secondhand.
So someone recognized you on your Facebook Live.
Yeah.
Because it was Simone in New York. Simone, I'm forgetting her tag.
Erstwhile Style?
Yes, Erstwhile. Oh my God. She's a stunner. And so I met you guys around the same time. And I'm not sure who I saw first, because it's a big world, small world. And, we touched base and all this stuff. And so, yeah. Okay, so, because there's so many things that we tend to discuss during these conversations, and I tell you, it can literally go on forever because there's so much to learn from everybody. But I want to start with, let's go back, and I think I kind of know some of this. I may have from years ago, but how you came to fall in love with vintage and thrifting. Like how that came. Some people, their relatives took them. Some people, they went in high school. So how did that happen for you?
Right. So the moment it happened, I was dating this guy, and so I'm 15 at this point, 15, 16, and he was just kind of goth, early O's goth, right? And so he wanted to go in theme to prom. And so my mom, bless her cotton socks, took me to a vintage store. So I'm 15, 16, and I'm like, what is this place? Like, this is incredible. And that was my first encounter. And I actually purchased a 1920s morning dress, which I later learned it was like a post-funeral morning dress that a woman would wear to mourn. But I looked great. Later sold that on eBay.
The whole body,
and then,
man.
Yeah, and then it just grew from there. I think once you get bit by the bug, like, then you're just attracted to it, and like you find it and you just dive deeper and deeper. I will say that moving to bigger cities, so this is like 2004, 2005, 2006. I went to school in Philadelphia, and then I was working in New York City as an intern. I just had so much more access, because back then you kind of had to go to a bigger city to have access to curated secondhand vintage experiences. And so, yeah, and that really inspired me. And fast forward, I stopped buying fast fashion around 2008, I'd say 2009 maybe, and now, you know, here I am. And you know, there's a whole other story to it, but we can all thank that guy in high school that I dated.
Yeah, he opened you up to this whole new world.
Yeah.
A whole new world.
That was my mom, actually. Actually, we can thank my mom, but he was the impetus because I obviously wanted to, you know, do the theme, which was really fun. But
yeah, well, because I remember you would be talking about your trips back home to visit your mom and all of that.
Yeah.
I remember all of that,
Yes.
and so I've had some little like kind of insights to your like your life and your lifestyle and all of that. But many people probably aren't familiar with it because when you because I don't want to jump forward, okay? Because because I know that you were working were you working in the fashion industry before you like started to take it?
Yeah, I was in publishing with the goal of becoming a fashion editor.
Oh, okay.
So,
now see, that I didn't know.
Oh,
because we know where you are right now. So you were doing, so you fell in love with you go into thrift stores, and so you probably, you know, took that love with you as you're like, you know, through life getting older. And so you said you went to school in Philadelphia. So then how do you jump from that to your career? And then now this is a career for you, and it seems like this is what you're doing. This is your whole jam, your whole cake, your whole enchilada.
Yeah.
You know, right? So you know, take us quickly through that. Like, so you're loving that, you're loving in a high school, you're going on, and then how did you go from like wanting to be an editor to transitioning to do what you're doing now? Because I know it's gone through different progressions, you know, what you've been doing. So that part.
Okay. Well, I'll start at the very beginning, and I hope that this serves people. Because I think, sometimes we hear people's journeys, and then we're like, okay, I'm not alone. And sometimes I feel alone, and then I hear other people's journeys, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm not alone. So what ended up happening is like, I was very ambitious, and you know, just thought that like I was going to be happy being ambitious in the publishing world. And it was a really great career track because I worked really hard, but it really wasn't from like an authentic place in the sense that it was my true self. So I actually wound up in New York City, like in the middle of the 2008 recession, which was a blessing. But, you know, I worked really hard for that. And I found myself just not happy, like not feeling what I thought I was going to feel. And where I felt more alive and more free and more myself was actually blogging on my own. So remember, guys, this is a long time ago. So blogging on my own, and I started selling vintage at the flea markets on the weekend. And because I met someone who sold at the Brooklyn Flea, this is the very early Brooklyn Flea, which is a very like prestigious market here in New York City. And she basically was like, yeah, I'll tell you everything I know. Now it ends up she was like a union stylist, and she was just selling off her collection at the Brooklyn Flea. But I remember inviting her into this like fabulous corporate publishing building, you know, and like being like, okay, tell me everything you can. Her name is Lynn Falconer. I will never forget her. And so what ended up happening is I was doing this on the side just to be creative and just to feel like I had a purpose that was authentic to me. And there's this motivational speaker, entrepreneur. He runs a whole, I think, like marketing agency. His name is Gary Vaynerchuk. Are you familiar?
That sounds really familiar. Well, she sounds familiar to me too. Faulkner. Falconer. Yeah.
I mean, I haven't kept in touch, but she was the catalyst to selling, and then Gary V, as he goes by, and he's huge on social media. He wrote a book, Crush It, and this was a very early book around monetizing your passions on the web. Okay. And
okay.
I read this book. Yeah.
That's Whitney. That's Whitney. That's Whitney.
He loves Gary. So I read Gary's book in 2009 in like a day.
Wow.
And I told my roommate I'm quitting my job, and I'm building the biggest, baddest destination for vintage fashion. And I remember when I quit my job, which was like a week later, because I was just so inspired by this book that my editor at the time, yeah, it's crazy. He was like, well, where are you going? Because he thought I was like, you know, moving on, whatever. So I worked at Esquire at the time, just to give you guys context. And I was like, I'm just moving on to build my own thing.
He's like,
and I'm going to build the biggest, baddest vintage fashion. And I wasn't saying biggest, baddest back then, but like, you know, I was like, I'm going to create the destination for vintage fashion. So again, just go back in time. It's 2009. There's nothing. There's nothing. Okay. I started a little site called SammyDvintage.com. Some of you may have found it if you typed in tables and like how to date vintage. I actually no longer own that site, which is the whole irony of this whole situation, but that's something to talk about maybe later on. But I built this website, and I built very early like vlogs about vintage. I actually used Vimeo, and I used this like very archaic, I forget what it was called, but it was like this, it was almost like, it was you would film with it, and it was like a USB, and it only had so much memory on it. But long story short, I was doing the damn thing. I was like, I'm determined to put myself out there on social media, and I was selling vintage. So I actually built a resale business here in New York City, and I learned and I shared, and I, you know, taught myself how to date vintage, and just put myself out there essentially. And what ended up happening is through the power of the universe, because I was putting out vibes where I was like, I need a partner. I need someone to help me. I can't do this all on my own. I have this big vision. Someone found the site, found the vlogs. He was 38 at the time. I was 24. And he messaged me, and he's like, I just graduated film school, and there's this thing called YouTube that's really exploding, and I would love to partner with you and build a YouTube channel. Me being 24 years old, I'm like, yes, random stranger, I will meet you. And so his name is Chris, and he went on to become my business partner. We haven't been partners for a very long time. I actually ended up buying him out, and this is like a very long story. But he and I really did build something that was very, you know, I am very proud of it. I regret not continuing with it, but I can't go back and change things. And that was the direction of like I needed to go. But it was like a very early influencer platform, you know, before Instagram, Facebook pages just started to emerge, before TikTok, before everything. Let's just be real. And I think Twitter was starting to be big, so I was like big on Twitter. And I started to connect with people like you, Kat, because it was, there weren't many of us talking about it. And then, you know, those of us that connected really fell in love with each other and really felt like, oh my God, I'm not the only one going to dirty thrift stores and geeking out over this 1970s prints. And obviously there were a lot of people in the industry that had been in the industry for 40, 50, 60 years that started to have a voice. And here we are. You know, I mean, I still remember like doing YouTube videos and talking about different styles and being made fun of in the comments. And, you know, fast forward 12, 14 years, and it's like, that is now trending, you know, like that style of wearing that sort of thrifted outfit, that thrifted ensemble is now trending. So the point of this that I hope some people tonight can like take away is that like, if you have a vision, trust it. But the truth is that the vision might not always be the right timing, and you're going to have to go through obstacles. You're going to have to go through whatever struggles it is. You know, I definitely had let go of my vision at different times because I had to also make money. I had to grow. You know, I was very committed to my business from 24 to 27. I didn't date anyone. Like I did nothing. And then I just kind of had to grow and branch out and explore the world. But I came back to this in 2018 because it was still pulling at my heartstrings. And a lot of the things that I wanted to do back in 2010, 2011, 2012, 2013, I'm now doing because I had to wait. I had to wait for the timing of technology and just access to things and people that were going to enter my life. So I hope that gives you faith. And I know it's frustrating when we're doing stuff day in and day out, or we have a vision and we're just like, oh, I just need it now. You know, the best thing you can do is just to kind of chip away at it a little bit each and every day if that's all you can do, versus just give up, because the universe sees what you're doing and it will reward you. And I'm shivering as I say this because I have experienced it in my life, and I have to remind myself sometimes, because I am only human. You know, I'm a human having a spirit. I'm a spirit having a human experience. I have to remind myself of mystic law.
Well,
So
I told people when I first started this, before you popped on, I said, Sammy's a way of, she's one of those people that you kind of like dream it into being. You know, you kind of visualize it and dream it into it. And you used to have a vision board. You had a vision board and that you would have where you would paste things on there. I remember the stuff, girl, because I used to like, I paid attention to that stuff. And so you have that, like, you know, how you were like, you're putting it there to like manifest and like have it come into your life. And I was doing a blog at the time for the love of. And I was doing I was doing a blog of some crazy stories. I'm sure there's some out there, but some crazy stories of us traveling as a family. And I think that was the commonality that we had in addition to vintage. And I know that I'm a big believer of when it's meant to happen, it's going to happen, because I didn't play an instrument or anything. I sang until I was 25, and I'm like, I'm going to start playing guitar. And then I started playing guitar. 2 weeks later, I'm moving to San Francisco. I moved to San Francisco. I do an open mic. So my friends are like, I want to book you to do a spotlight. I'm like, I've only been playing for 2 weeks. Are you sure?
Right.
Get my band. I'm like, my friend, I'm like, I need a band. I don't have a band right now. So it's like things like that just happening and just going with it when it's meant to be. And so like, it's funny because people say, they're like, you do all this preparation for that moment, you know, you do all this preparations of all these things. And like, people think, oh, it's just like, with some things it may happen like in the moment, just really quickly, but most things are, you do those little building blocks. And then when that opportunity happens, you're kind of prepared to like kind of tackle it. Right. But you know, I'm a fly by the seat of my pants kind of person. So it can be frustrating for me sometimes because I'm like, I really want to do this. I really want to do this. But you know, it's just like, I'm going to fail in the moment because it's just not the right time. So it's interesting that you say that. I think that's very interesting. So did you have like, because I know that I always ask this as far as like, who was like a role model or inspiration? It could be somebody that was in business, and you mentioned Gary, but in regard to fashion, because I've seen like the different styles that you've kind of like rocked, and you like, you're trying on the stuff and you're like dancing in your hallway and like, showing like your sequins and like all of that. You're doing that. Like, is there somebody that, like today, I'm kind of like Bianca, Lisa Bonet.
I see it.
Grace Jones, I'm kind of all that today, So it's like, I'm inspired by, I have like there's a hodgepodge. But do you have anyone that you like that is an inspiration that in regard to fashion, in regard to business, or in that line, if there is someone?
Such a great question. And I can't say that I do. I would say that who I used to really admire, and I still look at myself this way, were the female editor-in-chiefs of women's magazines, which there's few and far now because the publishing industry is not what it was. But now websites, and different bloggers have built more like a media empire. And I love what those women did in the sense of like leading a ship and having a voice. And standing for values, and then helping a team and supporting a team, and that team also benefiting obviously financially because of the infrastructure, and then reaching an audience that really was excited about that content each and every month. And that really was my dream. Like, I mean, I interned at Glamour magazine. I did a fashion magazine in London. And I saw like, oh my God, I'm gonna found a magazine one day, and now I see like, well, I did. It's just about vintage, and it's not like a magazine, but it's the world of it. And so I do have a dear friend.
Sammy, didn't you write a book?
Yeah, I've written two.
Okay.
Two. Yeah. I have another book that I'd like to get to. It's about thrifting and how thrifting teaches us life lessons. So the
Because I
working
thought that
title.
kind of tied, because you were in publishing and you actually wrote a couple of books. So, okay.
Yeah. Not like published in the world, but like self-published.
Uh-huh.
Um, so so just women that like have created a movement
Mm-hmm.
are the ones that I admire the most. And I also just really love people like in general who keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of people that in vintage are keeping it real because we are working with what we have, right?
Uh-huh.
We're not like, oh, I'm going to go get the latest, Leve, which look, I love reselling Leve because I get a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
But going into a secondhand store, a vintage store, a flea market, going on your live, going on my live, any of your lives, any of your stores, it's like, oh, what's there?
Yeah.
And we just work with it.
Yeah.
And it becomes us. And it becomes our essence. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
because we're doing this follow everyone else thing. We're like following who we are. And then by following who we are inspiring everyone else to do the same.
Mm-hmm.
And there's always enough for everyone. There's enough for everyone to be who they are. So, I really do find a lot of inspiration in just people in the industry,
Uh-huh.
people that are open and honest about, their lives alongside what they're, showing visually, because the visual is something we can control, right? But like what's actually happening within, and the point of life is our human journey and like our personal journey. So that's why like my content has always been kind of a mix of like self-development, entrepreneurship, affirmations, as well as vintage and the history and the selling. I can't just do aesthetic. Like it just never felt, I'm a Pisces, so I don't know if that connects with anyone. I can't just do the surface level. Like I've got to go deep. So those are some things that inspire me.
Wow. Well, because I dig that. Then that's another thing. I think that's another thing that we have in common. And I just did a post on Issey Miyake. And because that's one of my all-time favorite designers. I just like, oh, just love. Finding one of his pieces, I would just like, happy place. And I agree. Like, and a lot of people, I think that's something a commonality that a lot of us have, is that it's kind of a happy place going and finding those little treasures, and not just having where it's like these set uniform kind of things where you go and it's just like, you can go to any, it's this big chain or whatever. You go into any one of them and it looks just the same.
Yeah.
You go to a thrift store and you're just like, the things that you're able to find that just like, oh, rock your world. You're just like, oh my God, I didn't know I needed this till I saw it. Now I so need it. It was waiting for me, and it's just like, it's such a happy place. So I totally get that. Okay. So, all right. So you quit your job. You're going doing your thing. Then you did your trial and error, and then you did your blog and all that. Right. So how do you, because you said you were waiting for technology to catch up to what you visualized, 10 years before that. So if somebody's like starting to do it right now, what is because I always talk about like best business practices and like, because sometimes it's like starting off, hi, thank you for being here. I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you coming to watch us live, because it will be saved on my my grid for a while, but then it's going on to YouTube. So once Instagram lets me, because it takes a minute for them to get it all synced up, but it will be on YouTube. And so I always ask for business practices, because thank you for the follow. Best business practices, because I know it's not a cookie cutter thing, because we're all so individual and we all have our strengths and things that we need to work on, but there are some key things that that people, consistency, I know you mentioned that, but it's something that would help someone that is like either they've been doing it for a minute and they're just getting stagnant, they're new to it, or they're like coming back to it and they see it's a whole different beast, because it's a living thing, and it changes in the same formula. You can't just say, this is how I do it. So you stick to that, because it may not work in the current current atmosphere. So is there something that you can some key things? Now I know, and I signed up for your seminar because I'm going to be there.
I'm
going to be watching. So I am going to be there. But so, and you guys, and we're gonna, like, Sammy can tell you all about this because she's got a class that's gonna, like, kind of, like, I'm sure some of this may touch on, but can, just in case someone's not able to make it, anything that you can share as far as that practices.
This is so great. So things, oh my God, things, and I'll focus on resale, right? Because that's my, like, number one niche here as I, help people and lead people. And so the world of resale has gone through so many ebbs and flows. We're totally in the best time. We are absolutely in the best time. I mean, almost so much that, like, if you're not in resale, like, what are you doing? Like, you can make extra income very, very easily through the power of resale. But for those of us that are clothing resellers, right, it is a little bit more of a convoluted world because some of us want to source things that we love. And there's others that, over time learn, let me be more strategic with what I'm sourcing and selling, because this is what, quote unquote, is trending or what sells, right? I think there's always a happy medium, and vintage is, in particular, more so like what we're attracted to. So it comes down to, and this is something I actually just said in one of my last Instagram reels. It's just really understanding as a seller what you represent, and not being all over the place, because over time, if you are keeping best business practices in, in flow, you're going to have reoccurring customers who come back to you. You can nurture and market. Just a quick example, you can send out a weekly email. You can have a little DM chat that's like, when I have new stuff, and then you just let them know when you have new stuff, right? That could be 10 people, 10 customers that buy from you month after month that say, yes, be in this DM chat here on Instagram. You could have your own Facebook group, and you can nurture all of your VIP clients there. But these are people that, again, want what you sell, that you are pretty much consistently sourcing and standing by. So just as a quick example, I have found that, like, very unique vintage, just things that are just like, whoa, like jaw dropping, as well as designer fashion for less. That is my sweet spot. When I kind of go all around that, like, I can't really sell it to my audience. And I'm speaking on behalf of being a live seller, being a direct to consumer seller. You guys are specializing in eBay and Poshmark. That's a completely different world. But it is still to your benefit to just sort of niche down. I wouldn't do an eBay store or a Poshmark store that's both men's and women's fashion. Just as a quick example, I would separate them. Or even a Poshmark store now, I would do a vintage one, and then, like, designer for less, I would separate them, because, again, and it's just something we don't really think about, but, like, perception does play a part in how people trust you, especially if they've never bought from you before and they're a cold customer. But what I will say is that, building a resale platform, whether it's direct to consumer on live sales or posting on Facebook or using my platform on ISO or my platform on Facebook, or working in eBay or working on Poshmark, or maybe a storefront, right? And you have people who come in and you get their emails. You are building something. You are building something, and it is a brick on the wall each and every day. So you are going to have to start somewhere if you're, like, coming back, or if you're just starting for the first time. I'll just share, right now I'd really like to be bigger on eBay. So I'm just slow and steady adding to my eBay store, because I know that once I hit 100, 200 listings, I'll get more sales overall. That does take time, right? But I'm building something that's going to be an asset for me. And so wherever you guys are, I mean, many of us have full-time jobs, and this is secondary, but look at it as, like, I'm building an asset, and then you start to treat it differently. Back to my point about nurturing customers, you're nurturing an asset that's going to be there for you, as long as you keep feeding into that asset. So those are some best business practices. I also do believe that, it's good to have a couple of avenues for selling if you're a full-time seller. I don't think that even brick and mortar stores nowadays just sell in their brick and mortar stores. They're selling online. They might be collaborating with another brick and mortar store. So like they're giving them some of their pieces. And I'll just end on this. And this is just something, it's something I want to talk about a little bit more, just in the sense of like spreading this, because look, the stuff that I sell, Kat might not be able to sell for the same price or at all. And the stuff that Kat can sell, I might be able to sell. And it's not a bad idea to be sharing inventory amongst your reseller friends. I have a friend, she sells at a market here in New York City, and she sells stuff that I get, that I find. I can't sell it at that price, but she can. And so we do a 50-50 split. And it's amazing. It's amazing. And it's again, it's mindset.
That's interesting.
It's an abundance mindset of having seeds and helping each other versus like, well, it's such a competitive industry and it's so saturated. And oh my God, I remember 15 years ago, like I hear this all the time, like, shut up. I'm sorry. Like you're bringing it on yourself. Like there's so much collaboration and ways to support one another. But if you block it off with that energy, then you're like never going to see it. It's not going to cross your path. And I'm not, you know, I didn't quite learn this on my own. I have a friend and mentor, and she was on really fast, but she owns a vintage store in Austin, Texas, and her name is Rocks. And she is founded like 7 years, very established, and she sells with other sellers, you know, because she's got her market, her audience, her following, but she'll get stuff along the way, because we all find stuff along the way. But then, you know, as we make these connections, it's like, oh, okay, I found this really dope streetwear piece. I can't sell it, but they can, so I'll just do a 50-50 split with them. So yeah, so again, back to my point at the beginning of this, I believe everyone can make income with resale. And you know, it just again comes down to just being open to opportunities. And this is not a singular business where there's like one way, and we already talked about that. But as you find your way, and then as you collaborate with others, and as you build your assets, your whole business rises. So instead of making $1,000 a month over time, then you start to make $3,000 a month. Or 4,000 or 5,000 or whatever that amount is. And trust me, there are so many six-figure resellers.
Oh, definitely. Definitely. Oh yeah.
So many.
For sure. For sure. Yeah.
It is very possible. It's a lot of storage. It's work, but yeah, it's totally possible. Totally possible.
We're you know, Josh and I, we because we're on different platforms. But I want before I say that, because you mentioned cold buyers. Is that just new buyers?
Yeah.
Cold. Okay. Because I'm just like, okay, let me just ask her. Because just in case it's someone else was like, what? Cold buyer. I think that's really interesting. I started to do kind of thought about doing stuff like that, and I've done like doing jewelry by the pound and stuff like that, because I have so much of it, and from all different decades and all different like specialized ones. And so, but I think that that's really interesting about that, because there are some sellers that I see the same exact thing that they can sell it for $300. Me, I'm just trying to get 50. You know, I'm trying to get 50 for it, and there's and people are bidding up. They started at 50, and they'll start at 275, and people are bidding up, and I'm just like, what is going on? And their brand is that. Their brand is that, where that's people go there. They expect that's how they're going to be paying more. But my brand is not that. You know, so my brand is different, and so I'm still kind of like figuring it out and becoming comfortable with the different, what I'm able to do and what I'm not able to do. But I think that that's a very good, kind of best business, a really good, suggestion to do that. I think that that's a really good suggestion to do that. Hey there, welcome. Anyone that's just joining right now, I am interviewing the lovely Sammy Davis of Vintage Boss Babes. She is like a whirlwind, I say she's like a hurricane. She's like manifest stuff, she's like, I was just like, I really I've always thought about you in the light that you've always seemed like you've had this light and the light of possibility. and the knowledge that you have for it. And you know, you said earlier that you learned about vintage and how to date it and stuff. Because I think that that's a good a business practice, with especially if you're trying to get a good, like, you know, the value of the item and you're trying to get that value, knowing about the date of it and the terminology of that particular piece. I think that does nothing but benefit you, you know. And you know, I don't know, I've been to recently, you know, doing the live sale thing for about a year, you know, so a little bit over a year. So it hasn't been that long, but I definitely, once I started doing it, I've definitely found my thing. But I go live too much, so I'm trying to, like, all of these things, these little nuggets that you're giving are going to help not only myself but other people to, like, kind of like venture out and make it not so, like, because I don't want to be one dimensional as far as, like, you know, I just do live sales, and, like, I just do jewelry, or I just do clothing. I'm trying to bring things down so it's more, how you said, it's more like curated and niche. Yeah, and I think that that's a really, really good thing. So, okay, so let's talk about, because you offer these, like, free courses, you offer these tours. What is your business model look like right now? Like, what? Because you're, like, you know, because I saw that the lady. The young ladies, you're like, they turned anything into a song. The two young ladies you took, yes, one with the dreads and the other lady. And so I just, so what does your business look like right now? Like, you do, because you've grown into what it is right now. So tell us what it is that you offer right now.
Love this, love this. Wow, okay, so it'll be much easier when vintageandluxebossbabes.com is live, which is in the works. But I do offer a membership to a Facebook community where you can sell as much as you want in the group. It's vintage as well as luxe for less or designer for less, and that's a commission-free situation. It's a small fee of $30 per month, and people make buck, okay? Because you're literally targeting a 5,000 member Facebook community that I've built, that I continue to build, that know, like, trust you. So over time, you become more like a friend than a seller, and I talk all about this in my free training. In addition to that, I host live sales, and those live sales are currently on 2 platforms, growing to YouTube, thanks to the power of a platform called ISO. But my live sales on Facebook are a pay-to-play model, and they are $25 per hour. And you get something called a shopping bot to support with your sales. This doesn't exist on Instagram, unfortunately. Like, they just haven't figured it out, because I don't think the API is open for Instagram, but that's a whole other thing. But you're also then selling to a target audience who are going to check out what you have. You're going to meet new people, make new customers, blah, blah, blah. Our top sellers, like our top seller has made $4,000 in one sale. So it's very possible. And then with this new software, so it's called ISO, and it's how community leaders like myself can build a community where people are buying and selling. And this is actually, there's no upfront fees to participate in a live sale or to post. It's a small commission fee of 5%. But there's a lot of sort of software, you know, tools that have never before been accessible to anyone. So as a quick example, you can actually stream to YouTube, and people can buy from your YouTube lives. This is brand new. I think they're the only app that provides this. Like, they've built it themselves. And so I'm really trying to be the leader in this, so that my sellers can multicast. So you can multicast at the same time to the ISO platform, which is like a whatnot platform, to Facebook, to your Facebook page, my Facebook page, YouTube, hopefully Instagram in the future, hopefully TikTok in the future, so that you're not just streaming in one place, you're streaming in multiple places, and you're reaching your entire audience, and they can buy from you on the live.
So how does that work? You know, because you said it's like whatnot. So how does that work, like, as far as funds and all of that?
For buy it now, the auctions, you'll always have to go back to the app, because auctions, there's just a technology there that has to exist on the app. But the buy it nows, essentially you just say, you know, sold in the number, and you get a link to check out, and you add it to your cart, and then you check out when you're ready. It's amazing.
Oh,
I know.
oh.
It's crazy town. And there's more to it. It's just, and I'm going to talk all about this in my my training, which is on August 15th.
Because you can still sign up, because it's you know, you can still sign up for that, because I'll be there.
Yeah, and I also do coaching, and I host courses. I have a live selling course right now. I have a whole guide on like what vintage to be on the lookout for. I'll like release like a mini course here or there. I'm gonna have a whole course. Well, it's gonna be like a 2-hour seminar with my friend Melissa. She's behind Cameo Vintage in Chicago, and she used to do sales for Louis Vuitton and Coach. When I say this woman will teach you everything you need to know about sales, you need to show up for this free training. I learned so much from her when I met her. So I like to collaborate with others who have skill sets I don't. And then we offer a very affordable, you know, training so that anyone, you know, who tunes in can really take away a lot of information, and they don't have to pay hundreds of dollars for a course. It's just like something very, it's like a sliver of the pie. And once my site is, you know, launched, it's going to be a lot easier to find all of this. But I will say that vintagebossbabes.com is live. That's where you can register to become a seller in my community. And my ISO is iso.gg/vintagebossbabes. I know that's a mouthful. It's all in my profile. So you can go check it out.
Follow her.
But yeah, my goal really is to continue to grow my community. It was founded in 2019, so it was pre-pandemic, but the pandemic gave me the time to really grow it, as well as people were online. So that was an accidental blessing, because all I did was work during the pandemic. Like, I worked all the time. But now the goal is to really service the vintage and Luxe for Less community with a whole new way of selling, which I call social selling. And ISO has some serious power behind it to help us all to sell more vintage. Who knows what else? But I just want to see more people make more sales, because I built something that they can tap into, and they can be encouraged by. And so that's my business. I also do secondhand shopping tours here in the city. That was something that I started in 2018, and I paid for it in 2012, but the technology wasn't there to market it, basically. Like, Eventbrite had just started. I feel so old. Eventbrite had just started, so like, there wasn't, like,
girl, you old. I'm old as dirt. No, it's like, so,
old as dirt.
Because I've seen some because the pictures where you would sometimes you would have some pretty decent sized groups. You'd have like 8-10 people.
It's changed. I mean, I will share, you know, you're kind of at the mercy of the platforms. So right now, like, Europe is struggling, like gas prices are really high. Our kids are traveling to Europe, actually, ironically, but Europeans aren't traveling to US. So like, the business it's a little low, but the beauty of it is that I have a team member, and I'm so excited, so I can keep it going. So you guys, if you ever come to New York City, you can go shopping. If it's not with me, with my amazing team member. And then I am going to release some self-guided routes, so you guys can purchase for like $10 my tried and true routes with all of the directions. Because the issue with New York, it's not so much finding the stores, like finding addresses, it's knowing if it's good. Because if you don't know if it's good, like, it's kind of like you can walk into a store and be like, oh, I thought this was a thrift store. And they're literally charging $50 to $150 because they just put thrift in their name, but like, it's not really a thrift store. So what I offer on my tour is like, hey, no, these are the good stores in Williamsburg. These are the good stores in Midtown, in the East Village, in the West Village, so that you're not spending time like literally walking a mile, and then you end up at a store and you're like, oh, this isn't really what I thought it was going to be. So
do you still do the, like, you used to do like a secret one where there was like a known kind of like a special one where it was like you used to do that, so you don't do that anymore? Do you do that anymore?
Well, it used to be a secret. Nothing's a secret anymore.
It's a secret anymore. Everybody know. It's like,
what's TikTok? What's TikTok? I mean, I'm telling you, like,
all these
I know spots. I'm like, everyone has spoiled it.
Like, why There's so many people. What happened? Yeah, and I think because people put it out there, and you know, it's just like you know, you have a place you're like used to be like your little like spot where you're just like and you like if you don't go a certain time of day, it's nothing's going to be there because people have just already hit it. They done hit it and they're just gone.
Yeah.
So
and people don't mind exploring like the outer boroughs the way that they used to. I mean, here in New York City. So like, you know, people used to be like, oh, I don't go to the Bronx. And now like the secret spots in the Bronx like aren't secret anymore because people are just like, oh, I'll just go. Because again, when the prices for us resellers, as the prices go up, the resellers, as a consumer, you know, I don't mind. I want to support. Like I want to get stuff at consumer prices. But if you're a reseller, you do have to start to just widen your reach. And so because you know, if you're paying so much, you know, it's a business, and if you're paying that much for it, you know, you got to think about your bottom line. And if it eventually, like if you have to reduce it a little bit or whatever, you know, so you don't get burned, you know, that would be very, very, you know, that would not be good. Because there's something else I was gonna, and it probably will come to me, because there's another thing that you used to do, because there's so many things that I like to remember from like when you were doing your when you were doing your tours and you were oh man, now it came to me. I know it'll come to me, but because there was something else that you're doing, I was going to ask you if you were still doing it. See if I remember in a minute. But so okay, so you've kind of explained what you're doing right now, and then you've said, because you're not doing the whole like bus thing, the Uber thing yet, right? You're not doing that yet. Or are you doing it? If you're in the DMV area, we're gonna have a thrift bus.
Yeah, because once you move, because you're going to be relocating there. Yes. So is the person that you have that is helping you out, are they going to be there? Are they going to do it virtually, or the person that's you different for?
Yeah, no. So I have a team member here in New York City, you know, who works for to run the tours. So the tour business will continue here in New York. I just, you know, I might run a tour or two when I come back to visit, but I'll be refocusing to see what I can do, probably on like a bi-monthly basis in the Baltimore, DC, Virginia area. So instead of taking, you know, 4 or 5 people, it's a charter bus. I could take 50, 60, and we can take the bus from store to store. So I have a friend who has this business model in Atlanta, and it's just the most fun experience ever. She does it monthly. She works with great stores that offer a lot for, you know, this bus that comes through, and like they all
stores that do
buy a lot from the stores. So it really, really supports the stores too. But having you know, access to places to park, you know, people are like, oh, well, you can do this in New York, and I'm like, so where are we going to park that?
Seriously.
Me to drive, because I can't afford to pay a driver. So it's going to be $1,000 for the day plus $400 for the driver. So our tickets are going to have to be, it's only a 10-person, but you know, it just doesn't work. Being in a different market, I'm like, I'm so excited, because just the opportunities are just going to be so much bigger. I mean, even just renting a space to have like a meetup, like it's just going to be a much easier situation for me to cultivate in-person community. So yeah, if you guys are in the area, even Delaware, even Southern Pennsylvania, where I'm from, like it's gonna be a blast. I'm just not.
I remember now. You were doing a shared space. You were doing a shared space with other resellers. A shared space. It looked like it was like a warehouse, and you had like your designated spot inside. It was inside a like very high ceiling. All white walls. You don't remember?
Talking about art to wear, selling with art to wear.
Was that art to wear? It was like a bunch. There was like a lot of different resellers that were in the same, and you were like showing you how you were setting up your area for it. This had to be a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago.
3 years?
I think it was 3 years ago.
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I've sold in person, like pop-ups, and so my really
so maybe it was
friend,
a pop-up. Maybe it was a short term. It might have been a short term where you're like,
pop-up.
yeah.
I like pop-up. I'm not
Are
a
you
huge
like,
fan.
Kat, why are you remembering all of this stuff?
I
You're
know.
like, Kat, what are you talking about?
I'm not a huge fan of pop-ups. I think they can work if you know that people are going to actually come and
Uh-huh.
come through. But it takes a lot of personal marketing.
Mm-hmm.
Where I had success, back to what I was saying, is actually when
Mm-hmm.
my friends sell
Mm-hmm.
at market and they have
Mm-hmm.
like a dedicated area, I do commission with them.
Oh,
And
okay.
it's a much better situation. But this is a New York City kind of market where it's
Mm-hmm.
it's different everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that you know, when you find the right market that actually has a following, it can be very, very, very profitable. But pop-ups that are like a 2-day, 3-day window, like just be prepared to promote the heck out of it
Yeah.
because you got to get people through the door.
Yep.
And that's kind of exhausting. I'm not gonna lie. It's like, oh my God, I gotta get everyone's body in here. But that's why I like live
Well, people
selling,
always tell me, they're
because
like, Kat, you got too much energy. They're like, I would have to have a nap
yeah,
already.
yeah,
But
right.
I'm just like, I don't know. I get like, I don't know why I get all jazzed about, like, I don't know. I
That's
get like juiced up. Like, I
good.
don't know.
That's
Yeah,
good.
it's just,
You're
so, so what is your vision? Because you know, I say you visualize, you
yeah.
manifest. What is your vision? So if we're fast forwarding, just even like 2 years from now, you're in the Baltimore, you're like in the DMV area, and you're like, what do you have, like, ideally, if you had to think of like, what do I want my business to look like right now? You know, do you have a vision? Like, or because I know it's in flux. I'm sure it'll be in flux, and then
Yeah.
once get you there, you're just like, what am I going to be able to do? And you're probably going to adjust, and you're going to, like, you know, to make it the best it is where you are. But do you have anything that, if it's ideally, you know, like,
Yeah. I mean, it's pretty much everything I just shared, right? Like, I want to have my in person, because we all need to be with humans. We all need
mm-hmm,
to connect with like-minded people. And so for me,
mm-hmm,
that's always my tours. Love my tours, meet great people. I'm out and about, you know, in the world. So, you know, I would love to bring that to the area so that
mm-hmm,
those of, you know, those of you, if you're watching, who participate, like, you're like, yeah, like you know, I went on this great experience. I had a blast. I met people. It was awesome. And then back to what I'm creating, which is, you know, really back to the universe supporting
mm-hmm,
you. When I partnered up with ISO,
mm-hmm,
they found me.
mm-hmm,
And this had something that I had been like meditating on, in the sense where I'm like, I'm only one person. I can only do so much
mm-hmm,
to grow this
mm-hmm,
buy-sell community that
mm-hmm.
is like an Etsy, like a Depop,
Yeah.
like a you know, Shop Thrilling, which, rest in
Mm-hmm.
peace,
Yeah.
but different
Yeah.
community based.
Uh-huh.
I'm like, I can only do so much. So when they found me, I was like, oh my God. And so now, as I enter this new chapter and I have more time, I'm like, you know, basically my foot is on the pedal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I am going to be going as fast as I can to build momentum, to grow the community, to get more sellers on board, to get more sellers making sales. And then that way I'm going to be able to, you know, just really have something that is an asset that I can grow.
Mm-hmm.
And from there, who knows? I mean, I still have goals of being on TV. You know, I have a book idea. But I think all of those things come once you're like a little bit more seasoned,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So I'm grateful that, you know, I'm going to be 40 in 2 years. So it's kind of like, you know, you just start to be like, all right, wisdom is great on this journey. And
Uh-huh.
some of these things that are sort of like, oh, like so exciting, and you know what I mean, like candy, you're like, that will come when I deserve it, right?
Yeah.
But for now,
Yeah.
it's really continuing to focus on the service.
Mm-hmm.
And how do I, you know, serve this community as well as make a living myself, which is why I'm a reseller, because that is,
Yeah.
you know, it's about 60% of my income right now if you look at my books.
Mm-hmm.
But I love it. Like, I love it. I love selling clothes. And yeah, and who knows with like technology, you know, technology, it is so fast.
Yeah.
There could be something that just helps to take a vision I have in a completely different direction. And I'm really open to that. And I'm really excited about that. You know, I haven't explored AI, but I do feel like there could be something there. you know, that could be really supportive. But yeah, just really just like continuing to flow, right? To flow with the ebbs and the flows, and to, you know, keep more things out of the landfill. I mean, we didn't even talk about sustainability, but this is a big part
so
of,
what do you want to say about that? Because I know that for me, like, it's, you know, our Earth Enterprises is our umbrella, you know, and so, you know, that's, we definitely have that, you know, as part of our reason for what we're doing, you know, versus fast fashion, which there's a definite market for fast fashion, but doing the whole, like, even if you are buying fast fashion, but you buy it from a thrift store, it's less impact.
Yeah,
you know, so to mix with your vintage or whatever.
Right.
But what about because when you're saying, why don't you elaborate? Because this is going to go up on YouTube, so it's just like, you know, and then I want you to, you know, give me the date for your course too, because I'm going to put that in the post and everything, so that's there, so people can watch it later, and then they can sign up, hopefully.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that everything that we're going to talk about, I mean, I know you guys know, and I know you guys know because 5 years ago we weren't talking about it, and now we are. And this is awesome. You know, 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I remember being like, yeah, you know, brands are going to start to sell their own vintage because they're going to want a piece of the market share. Well, guess what? That's what they're doing. You know, so as the secondhand industry grows, we have a much more, you know, we have a much stronger hold of this fashion economy and what it means to be sustainable, and there's more pressure on the market to be sustainable. So I know that my children will probably just be sustainable out of the womb, you know, versus me. I had to find it on my own. You had to find it on your own. Yeah. But long story short, I think there's always going to be a market for new clothing. The question becomes, how do we continue to innovate and create technology, which is not our duty as vintage sellers, but we can still create pressure for this to happen. How can we continue to innovate so that we can repurpose pre-existing materials into another garment? That's going to continue to just lessen the load of what producing clothing does to the environment. It's going to maintain a workforce because, let's be real, people need the production of clothing to have a living. We can't take that away from them. But as we all know, I mean, we all know this, there's enough clothes on the planet right now to outfit the whole world for like 3 generations. It's crazy. So then what are we going to do to continue to innovate, to make new clothing sustainable, to keep things out of the landfill? And, you know, more and more companies are jumping board. Obviously, there's a lot of greenwashing, but I do believe that as we continue to move forward, if the consumer wants it, the consumer will get it. But we have to continue to be vigilant in that. If we keep buying Forever 21, if we keep buying whatever is fast fashion, Shein, well, they have a client. We can't put them on a business that way. We have to put them on a business or make them think differently so that they can get us back. So the power is in your dollar, you know, and that's with everything, right? That's where you invest your people you hire, you know, where you go eat dinner. Like, there's so much power in your dollar. And the same thing can be said about fashion and sustainability.
Yeah, because I definitely think that if the thing is if more and more people are having that mindset, and they're you know, with the whole like pressure of it, I think that because there's people that do upcycling, and there's companies that do, you know, you talk about the greenwashing, but they do say that they've made out of whatever, you know, natural fiber, or like, you know, where they're like they're doing something specialized, you know, it'll help to drive that cost down, because a lot of those companies, it'll cost more because they're like, oh, we do this, we repurpose this, and so the cost could naturally go down because there's more of it, you know. So and then make it more accessible, you know, to more people, more accessible to more people. So
exactly. Like, look, I don't blame anyone for not buying Eileen Fisher brand new. It is expensive AF, okay? Maybe an outfit like once a season, but also let's remember that like 50 years ago, which actually probably more like 60 years ago, women and men were buying a lot less. Like culturally, we just were buying a lot less. So we buy a lot of clothes. But is that going to change? Probably not, unless you take that on as a value. But again, you know, back to what you were saying, you know, you can still buy fast fashion, but from the secondhand store. You can, you know, you can support your, how do I say this, habits. You can support your habits in a better way. But then also, you know,
I got a problem.
be aware that like if you do invest in something like an Eileen, for sure, I'm trying to think of like another really great sustainable brand. Like if you wear it, that cost per wear brings the cost down, and it's not going to it's going to disintegrate. If it doesn't continue to be worn, it will eventually disintegrate. It won't just sit there. If it disintegrates, it won't hurt the soil as much. I don't really know these facts, but yeah, so it's you know, and I think that you know, it's really hard to say, but I think that there will be a breaking point at some point, where there's going to be more taxes, you know, on these companies. I mean, it all has to do with like the whole political nature of where things are being produced. But we do have a lot more power when policy comes into play. So again, my reminder to myself is that like just the more that I'm propagating it to everyone, then that eventually trickles up to the politicians so that there can be, you know, more laws put in place. I mean, California, as an example, you're not going to be able to buy a car that is not a hybrid. I think in 2030.
We were just there, and I've never seen many Teslas. Seriously, like surrounded by Teslas. We have a Kia electric, like it's an 86. It's fairly new, but surrounded. I'm just like, how many white Prius? Not Prius. Teslas. How many Teslas can I see in one block? Seriously, like it's wild. They got the electric like trucks, you know, they had trucks and stuff like that. So California, all over the place, like so many electric cars. It was crazy. New York City, you know, they weren't even like hybrid. Well, they weren't even hybrid. They're like full on, like, you know, dual motors. It's like wild. And I think that's, you know, it's, because, you know, it's going to help there, because California is like sometimes you go to air quality, you're like, you're going down the hill and you're like, why is it so great? You know, so, you know, so it's going to help with emissions and stuff like that. So,
right. Because remember, the cost
I know, because it's crazy.
As that goes up, and, you know, we've had this
575, 580. Yeah. Oh my God.
And that's not going to stop, because there's going to be more war zones and things like that. So it is in the U.S. I'm talking U.S. politics now, but it's their best interest to just take these sustainable measures to prevent people in the future from suffering. And it's not just about the planet, it's about also like their you know, their income and how much money.
Well, you know, we didn't gas up. And you go to this thing where you set up. We paid $10 to get 80% charge. $10. That's great. 80% charge for our car to keep going. That's nothing compared to like if we tried to fill it up, it would have been $100. Right. It would have been, it would have been crazy. So it's like, you know, but you know, fashion, like all of that kind of like, and the whole vintage thing, it's all of that ties in to me. It, you know, I like, you know, and it comes back around, and like, you know, the person that rocked this in the 80s, like they probably like were like, I'm so fly, you know, and now I have it in 2023, and I'm like, I'm so fly. You know? So it's like, I love that about fashion. You know, it's like, it's an amazing thing. So now our number keeps going like up and down because, you know, Instagram does that. But if there's anybody that has any questions, I'm just going to give it a second. If someone's got any questions for Sammy, please comment on them now. Put them in the comments. And then the date of your, because I know it's your class I signed up for. I'm trying to think. I think
August 15th.
Next week.
Yeah.
Yes, next week.
So
right? Yeah.
Tomorrow, I think it's a week. Yeah, it's a week from tomorrow. I love it. It's on Zoom. You'll get the replay if you can't tune in live, but tune in live because it's a great time. You can listen. I also have slides, the whole thing. And then what was I going to say? Once you sign up, you'll be able to get that Zoom link. So even if you can't make it live, if you're like, well, I'm just busy on Tuesday at 8:15 EST, at least sign up so that you get that link. And it's really great. And it's a really motivational training too, because I do a lot of sort of case studies on, you know, how certain vintage sellers have literally just built something from nothing. So if you haven't dabbled in this world, I totally encourage you to show up. And these are the type of trainings that, you know, I would like to be back doing on a regular basis. My last one was April, so there was kind of a pause. We'll just say a pause. But my goal is to offer them every single month so that more and more people can connect with me, can learn what I'm about, and can see if there's something that I offer that can serve them. And like I said, there's enough for everyone, and there's going to be, you know, other people that are going to come along and create very similar platforms. And I'm so excited because the more that we build things to help one another, then those of us that were like me in 2009 and just did not want to go into a job or log into a job from home that wasn't serving them, they can say confidently, I have replaced my income.
Because this is what we do. So that's why, you know, people are like, why do you hustle so much? Because I'm like, this is my gig.
Yeah.
This is my gig. This is what I do. This is what I love. You know, it can be very taxing. It can be very frustrating. It can be very like, what the heck am I doing? Yeah. But then you can have these moments where you're like, you're in your groove, and then you just want to grow and tackle more so that it can be, you know, I got one kid in college, another one going to college. It's like, you know, there's things that, you know, but it's a fun. It's just, I adore it. I start to get on live and I'm just like, I don't know. I love to do it. So, but I'm trying to do it less, but Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I'm gonna have to let people know about it. But yeah, this may have been a weird time because people may be eating dinner, but I'm gonna put this, I'm gonna put this up on the page. You know, of course, I'm gonna save it.
Collaborator on Instagram. I don't know if you know how to do that. I can show you, because if I accept, it shows up on my feed and all of my followers see it.
Oh.
If you invite a collaborator, once you post it, I think.
Oh, there, put it like, oh, okay, yes, I'll do that. Because I have seen a collaborator. I've done that. But I didn't know with lives like this. I didn't know that it was. You know, I thought it was like when you did a post. But
yeah, if you post this to your feed, you have to post the live to your feed.
Yeah.
And then,
oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna do that, and then yay!
So awesome.
Well, girl, I'm so you know,
you now.
There's been a little bit. I'm sorry.
Interview you now, so I'm gonna have to reach out once I have something lined up.
Yes, I would love that. I did a little about me. I did a reseller shout out spotlight on several of my sellers that are involved in my Tuesday marathon, which is going to switch to me the multi-seller marathon. So I did a shout out. So 5 facts about the person. So there's some interesting things about me in there. But you know, people like, you know, I share little nuggets. I think I share too much. Josh is like, babe, you share too much.
Way too much. Yeah.
I'm just like, I'm to the point where I'm like, okay, guys, I'm a hazard. If you hear a crash and you know no one's with me, you know where I live. Because I'm just like, it's just too much. But yeah, he's like, babe, come on. Settle down. But yeah, so I'm gonna put this. It's gonna go on YouTube, but I just want to say, because you're trying to do this, and you know, I'm a newbie to this, and I absolutely love doing this interview series. I absolutely love it. And, you know, I have people lined up through this month, and this is the first time I've had lined up each week. And so I'm really like, I think, because everybody has so much to offer, and I'm so excited about it. And I just, I am so grateful that you immediately said yes to me. And like, you know, it means the world to me, because I've always thought so highly of you. And I just, you know, I just think you're like a rock star, you know. And so it's like, there's women that I feel this way about. And so it's like really important for people to see you, to see your face. And like, you know, you've got a lot of followers, you know, you got, you know, about 10 grand on me, but it's like, there's this small smallest thing where they, you know, even there's a big world, small world, that the person that's just on a smaller scale, that now they're going to be familiarized with you, and now it'll help like you grow, help me grow, be more of a village, you know, because I always talk about village community, always talk about that. So it's going to help to do that. And I just huge thank you, huge thank you for doing this. I do appreciate it. And I'm going to come, of course, and because it's going to be on Zoom, so I'm pretty sure you're going to allow people to like comment questions and stuff like that. So I plan on being there. I do it every 2 weeks, my live sell, the marathon. So I will definitely be there. And so you'll be seeing me like, you know, Kat, Stray Kat, but no, it'll be my name. It'll be my name, Kat. It'll be on there. So I'm going to be there. Everyone, thank you. I know people came in and out. Like people came in and out. So they weren't here for the whole time, but they came in and out. So anyone that's still here, thank you for being here. Anyone watching the replay, thank you for watching to this point. This is a village, and this is where it's not, there's no scarcity mentality. When it comes to this business, there should not be, and there should be, like, we can share our wisdom in growth and help other women to become more powerful and more self-sufficient in this business if this is what they choose to do. So thank you, my love. I appreciate it so much. Have a wonderful, wonderful evening. People that are just popping on, I'm going to save this. It's more of a doable length to watch and replay because, you know, replay an hour is a really good length for people to watch it. So please, 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 I'm going to be posting it as soon as it lets me post it. It's going to be up there, and then it's going to be on YouTube. Please subscribe to YouTube. Last thing, if you are interested in being a sponsor, there are different levels. You can do bronze, you can do silver, you can do gold, or you can do platinum. If you want to support this series, you know, just DM me and we can make it happen. What happens is any sponsors are going to be added to the end of the YouTube video. So let me know if you're interested in doing this. I really, really, really appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Okay, much, much love. Have a wonderful evening. And we'll see you next week.
I'll see you next week.
Okay, guys, much love.
Bye, Kat.
Full heart. Bye.
Bye.